This is a message to all my supporters of this podcast. I'm introducing a new supporters program. You can contribute a small amount as a one-off payment to show your love for this podcast. Thank you in advance for all your contributions. Hi everyone, before we go into the podcast, I just want to share with you that I am now taking on new coaching clients at the moment. So if you're interested in being a coachee of mine, then please do go to absolutebusinessmindset.com, go down to the bottom onto the contact us bit and put in your name and put in that you want to be coached, and I will reach out to you and we can arrange it. You can be globally or you can be UK based. I will do my best to be able to deliver a great service to you wherever you are based. Thank you very much, guys. Speak to you soon. This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, created and hosted by Mark Hayward. I'm a corporate employee with an entrepreneurial mindset. This podcast will help and support you with new ideas about business. These are my thoughts, ideas, and comments. Today I've got Steven Kuhn, which is part 2 of an interview with him. We're going to talk about further details about 2 concepts which he has created, which is H.I.T and Humble Alpha. Hello, Steven. How are you?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me back on again. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, absolute pleasure to have you back on. So we're gonna talk about H.I.T and Humble Alpha, which are 2 things which you've come up with, and I'd say we're going to go into detail about them because they've had an impact on me and how I conduct my business. So I thought it would be interesting for my listeners to be able to delve deep into it and pick out a little bit more of the detail.
Totally.
So first of all, can you define H.I.T for me?
Yeah, so in the short version is H.I.T stands for honesty, integrity, and transparency. Honesty is being true to who you are and how you live. Transparency is communicating your honesty for anyone to observe. And integrity is a result of your ongoing reputation of honesty and transparency. So people say, oh yeah, I have a high integrity and I'm this and that. But integrity isn't something you can be. It's a byproduct of who you are and how you communicate into the world, how you step into the world. So, it's just, integrity is very overused. And this is the way we explain it so that people understand that it's not just a label. And if someone asks me all the time, well, what does integrity actually mean to you? And the saying that most people say is it's integrity is doing what you say you're going to do and not doing what you say you're not going to do. But for me, integrity really shows itself when you screw up, when you mess up, when you make a mistake, that you own it. You stand up and say, I own it. It's my fault. How do I make it better? That's where integrity really shows itself for me. And that's the kind of people I want to work with. That's the kind of people that I want to be around.
How do you think people fail when they are trying to implement H.I.T, or maybe not trying, but how do people fail when what's the most common themes where they fail?
Expectations. So we have a saying that Lane, my business partner and I, Lane Balone, expectations are unverbalized, non-verbalized expectations are guaranteed letdowns. When I go into a discussion and I have an expectation of that person across from me, or it's a sale or even my wife, and I have an expectation that I haven't verbalized, right away, we're missing each other's vibe. We're missing the sort of the communication. And then when my discussion is based upon my wants, wishes, expectations, preconceived notions, cookie cutter solutions, the other person never really has a chance to connect with me, and I can't connect with them. So it's a breakdown of communication, even though that's how most communication works, because you learn in every sales class how to manipulate the person in front of you. NLP is a perfect example. How do I manipulate somebody in front of me to get what I want? And so it's more or less that unspoken energy that you have. You know how it is when someone's in front of you and they need to sell something, you feel it, or they want to really, really sell you. You feel it. They just feel uncomfortable. It's not like a gelled conversation. There's no sort of basis for it, and the basis for any relationship, any healthy relationship on the planet is integrity, indeed. So it's something that we strive for. And there's a way that we do that, and we call it creating space. Creating space is simple. You have your toolbox of skills and knowledge. You take it all away and put it in a toolbox beside you, I call it. And you focus on the only thing that you can control in any discussion, and that's your intention. So if you focus on your intention as providing value by solving problems, and don't worry about selling, buying, impressing, manipulating, leveraging, forget about all that stuff, and only pull your tools out when you need them to solve a problem for the person in front of you. I guarantee you that's the most powerful tool. Once you hone that tool, it's the most powerful tool you'll ever use. It works in every situation because you're being honest with the person in front of you. You're adding value first. You're elevating them. You're not asking for anything. You're literally just giving. And what that does is it creates a space of neutrality around the both of you, and you come together and create that famous, what they call the mastermind. And that allows you and the other person to come up with solutions and answers that you otherwise would have come up with. And it's literally that practical. I show up to a meeting. I'm there wholly and fully for that person and no one else, focused on the intention of adding value by solving problems. That changes lives, changes results. It's incredible.
So you've said about sales is mainly down to adding value, which I 100% agree. And if you add value, then there's a win for you because you'll create a sale, and there'll be a win from the client's perspective as well. That's really that concept of win-win, I think, is something that is sometimes a little bit unexplored, because they think if for me to win, you have to lose, whatever the relationship is. Just talk about the win-win sort of method, the win-win theory.
Well, me personally, I believe win-win has nothing to do with the results. Win-win has to do with the outcome of the conversation, how the two people get along, and what it is that they've come up with as far as a solution. I mean, some people would say, I'm a sales guy. I'm selling product X. You buy it from me. That means you've won because you have a product, and I won because you spent money with me. Well, that to me is not a win-win. The person might have got a product, but that's not really a win. It's just something they needed. It's not like, wow, super win. So for me, win-win is when two people walk away and go, wow, you know what? It doesn't even matter what happened in that conversation, because this guy made me feel so good, or that person made me feel so good. I feel like I'm really connected with somebody. I feel enlightened. I feel lighter. I feel more motivated. There's a lot to say for using this for no reason whatsoever, that you use creating space to create win-wins for no reason whatsoever, because I believe in the law of reciprocity. So if I give to everyone in my life enterprise as much as I can, add value, elevate them, invest in the relational capital, I'm going to have a return on my investment for sure. Maybe not from that person, but from another person. And that's why I live my entire life like a CEO of my own life enterprise. And a CEO of a business enterprise answers to the stakeholders, and so do we. Our stakeholders are our family, our friends, the people we meet. So how does a CEO treat stakeholders? They treat them well, because they're the ones that basically gave him his job. And I see my life the same way. So I have to be here as a provider. I have to be here as a leader. I have to be here as someone who takes care of those in my life enterprise, my stakeholders. How do you do that? You invest in the relational capital with them. You create space with them, bring them out of their own shadows, bring them out of their own place. But you're doing it out of a pure place of not wanting. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do and because you care for people. Now, people ask me all the time, "Oh, who's this softy?" Well, dude, I've generated over $500 million worth of revenue for my clients. I took on projects that I never even worked on in my life, and I did 30 million in 6 months. And it wasn't because I had product knowledge. I didn't have industry knowledge. I had no contacts in that industry, but yet I did it. For a perfect example is I approached Andrea Bocelli, the tenor, the Italian singer, in London at a concert backstage. And I said, "Hey, meet me tomorrow for 5 minutes. I got something for you. I just want to talk to you. At the very least, you'll walk away having had a great coffee on me." And we talked. And they said, "Do you have any contacts in the business?" "Nope." Do you ever done this business before?" "No, I haven't." "Then what do you want to do?" I said, "I want to help you guys out, and I'll prove to you I can do it." And within 2 weeks, I was in the office of every single CEO of every single major record label in London. And they're like, they couldn't even do that. And that's only because I create space. And I don't want anything from these people. I literally want to go in and ensure that the first thing that I do is create value, no matter what. And everything else happens by itself, because they want to then help. They want to be with you. They call you, "Hey, what's going on? When are you back in London? Let's meet up." And I mean, I'm sitting in the office of what was it? Rhino Records from Warner Brothers, drinking a beer with the CEO, on the first meeting. It's just crazy. But that's what I've come to expect when you live your life according to HIT and relational capital and creating space and the intention focusing on the intention.
So it sounds like mindset is incredibly important to you, because you've got to have yourself in the right mindset to be successful. What's the thoughts for you about growth versus fixed mindset?
Well, mindset, when people talk about mindset, it's like, okay, I have to force myself into a certain way, or I have to read, or I have to meditate to get my mind to a certain place. I'm the opposite. I let go of everything. Like, I completely empty my mind. There's no wants, wishes, solutions in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's not really a mindset. It's a clarity of mind, that I don't have any way that I should or want or have to be. I'm there literally based upon me, my mission of adding value to that person in front of me. And I know there's people out there right now who sit in very, let's say, technical jobs, or they're a software salesperson, and they're like, come on, the guy wants some software, I'm selling it, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to buy it. Yeah, but if we all think that one time sort of, I want to sell, good, I've reached my goal. Now I can go back and I can add value by being a customer service representative, or creating, value in some other way. But that's like stop and start only when you need something. And I'm a firm believer that if I need something, it's hard for me to approach somebody unless I can actually add value for them first, because I know after that, the need falls away for me. And that's when organic wins happen. And organic wins are the most incredible, because there's so much more attached to it than just the order. There's so much more attached to it. There's referrals attached to it. There's people, private conversations, there's networking, there's, invites, all kinds of things. And these are all investments in your life enterprise. And these investments pay off massively. I mean, literally, I worked for Mick Jagger. I worked for Olivia Newton-John. Like I said, Andrea Bocelli, the European Parliament, the German Parliament, Croatian Parliament. And I'm just an ex-soldier living in Germany. I'm nobody special at all. But why did they invite me to talk to these people? Why do I get to, meet all these, world leaders and megastars? Because I add value. Wherever I go, people are like, you got to meet Steve. This guy's incredible. He just adds value. And I don't do it to add value. I do it because I care. It's more important for me that I walk away from a meeting leaving someone in a better place than when I met them, than it is to me to win, because I go long game always. I know that person's going to walk away with a lifelong impression. And one day when honestly, this is exactly a perfect example. I was in Berlin and I had a health club, and Steven Tyler from Aerosmith walked in, and his bodyguard was there, who's an ex-Navy SEAL, I think. And they asked if they could train. I said, sure, go ahead. And And I just added value. I said, look, take the room as long as you want. Don't worry about it. We're all good. And he said, wow, thank you so much. You're not making it difficult at all. Everyone makes it difficult. And I said, no, it's all good. It's an honor to have you. And that was it. 2 years later, I'm walking down the road in Berlin, and here's someone yell my name, hey, Steven. And I look over, and it was Steven Tyler, sitting in a cafe calling my name because he saw me down the street. He met me one time. And this guy meets millions of people.
Yeah.
Why did he remember me? Because of the way I made him feel. Simple as that.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hi, I'm Alex, the host of X Health Show. Meet the future of healthcare. Think X-Men, that's X Health. Actual superheroes behind programming living cells to cure cancer once and for all. Tech that detects preterm delivery in seconds, brain-computer interface, or apps that employ AI to match you, your disease, with the best treatment. X Health Show brings to you visionaries who push the boundaries of healthcare from Switzerland, the heart of Europe and the most innovative country in the world. Let me introduce you to their startups. Head to X Health Show, meet the future of healthcare. Happy to greet you there.
I think it's an incredibly powerful story. How do your values and morals affect HIT?
Well, the values and morals are based upon HIT. So the honesty is, for me, paramount. Transparency to the degree that you create a win-win. I mean, people say, well, I can't be transparent with my competitors because, they see my P&L, they see my weaknesses. Well, I'm not telling you to go out there and pull all the stops. You want to be transparent to the degree that everyone has a win-win. I mean, you're not going to go out there and show them your financials and things like that. So, but principles are based upon you, right? On how you feel about yourself
Mm.
and how you deal with yourself, your self-dialogue, how far you will go in certain situations or not go in certain situations. So it's all an internal thing with you. Everything comes from the inside out anyway. We all know that, well, most people know that the world outside, what's happening, we literally rarely react to what's actually happening. We're reacting to the thoughts we have about what's reacting or of what's happening. So you have a car accident, and the first thing comes to your mind, I'm going to be late for work. Shit, the boss is going to be mad at me. What if I lose my job? And you're going through this whole spiel of thoughts of things that didn't even happen.
Mm.
So we're always distracting ourselves with thoughts about things that haven't happened yet. And when you realize that these thoughts are the only thing that's keeping you in that negative state, you just drop the thoughts and say, look, I'm going to deal with that when that happens. You let the universe take over. You let the world take over. And you focus your intention on the moment. You focus your intention on adding value, solving problems constantly. And so, the values that I have are based upon how I feel about myself. Can I live with myself if I do this? Can I live with myself if I say that? Will I be able to look myself in the mirror? Can I look at my kids if I do this or that or the other? And after a while, you don't even think about it anymore because they're so rock solid. It's like, repetition is the mother of all learning. So once you repeat this sort of self-dialogue with yourself, after a few weeks or months, you're solid. And, don't get me wrong. I'm not perfect. If you look at why people lie or fib or exaggerate, it's because they want to maybe avoid suffering, shame, embarrassment. So I get that, right? But they also lie because, okay, maybe I'll just do a little white lie to get what I want without having, anything backfiring on me. Or they want someone to think good of you. They seek significance, right? So they might say a little bit exaggeration. Or another reason we lie is to protect other people's feelings, right? Mm. So you don't want to hurt somebody. Like your wife says, do I look fat in this dress? And you're like, no, honey, that's a lie, really. So how do you say that without upsetting them, right? How do you say that? HIT solves this by being honest with the other person, and they can actually make a change in their life because you told them the truth, right? But you say it in a way where you're adding value to them, where you're solving a problem for them. And, my wife, she's a fitness freak too, like I am. And she's always asking me these questions. And I can honestly answer her because I do it in a loving manner with the intention on creating value and not on trying to make her change or fit into a certain, picture that I have of myself or of her. So HIT is incredibly important. And also it removes stress, anxiety, and shame. Seriously, being honest, by being honest, we can really get to the core of issues and solve them permanently. You're not solving the symptom, but rather the root cause. And only then will we be able to truly live authentically and get what we want in life, because you're not worried about what they're thinking. You're not worried. You're not expecting anything. You come home, the wife says, yeah, mother-in-law said this. And you're thinking, oh, why is she saying that? What's she thinking of? And what's the wife think about me thinking about the mother-in-law? And all these thoughts, it's all bullshit. It's all noise. It's all in your way of a fantastic life. So just drop all that stuff and just be honest. And I don't mean be hardcore honest, just be honest and loving and caring. And yes, I'm a 6'4", or what is it? 1.93 m, 108 kilogram man. And I'm really in shape. And I have a, I make an impression when I walk into a room. I'm no softie by any means, but that's what people think when I talk like this. Right. And then they meet me or they see me in meetings and stuff, and they're just completely blown away. And this is where I want to switch gears a little bit about Humble Alpha. Is the Humble Alpha is a concept that I came up with with Lane. And that means humble on the outside, alpha on the inside. So we all know the alpha male, right? On the outside, oh, look at me, boom, boom, boom kind of thing. Yeah. Well, we're powerful on the inside. We have that nuclear reactor that just forces a present out to the outside world, but we're humble about it. We don't need to beat our chest to be loud. We don't even have to speak when we walk into a room, but you still own it because that presence you have is based upon your identity. Now, here we go, because a lot of people say, well, what do you mean identity? If you ask somebody who they are, or you've heard someone say it before, you know who I am, I'm the CEO of XYZ. And you're like, well, that's great, but that's actually what you do. That's not who you are. Mm. Who are you really? And if you ask your listeners right now, I guarantee you 80% no idea who they are. And once you realize who you are, your purpose crystallizes practically in front of you. And once you find your purpose, that's aligned with your identity, it actually amplifies your identity. And that's where that presence comes from. And you have that presence across all areas of life. We have a program called Humble Alpha Leader Program. And we teach you how to take this presence across all areas of life so you don't take your power from a position or a title like most people do and have an imbalanced life where there's no integration across all areas. And all of this is what I'm talking about, HIT and relational capital and creating space and all these things. It all leads to that one thing that we always talk about, and that's quality of life. And that's what everyone strives for in this world. And that's what we strive for across all aspects of life, of body, mind, relationships, and business. And that's what we teach. That's how I live. That's how Lane lives. And it's an incredibly, and what's the word? Incredibly free living life. You don't have any sort of conflict. You don't have any rubs the wrong way. Things happen because they're supposed to happen, so you accept them. It's an incredible way to live. It really is.
Really interesting. So how do you deal with negativity? Whether you're in that meeting and you're in a, I don't know, boardroom where there's conflicting relationships or troubled relationships. How do you deal with that negativity within sort of internal businesses?
Well, I led a British PLC once with 3,500 employees. And the short answer is take leadership, take ownership. You take ownership of the influence that you have on others. You take, ownership of the impact that you have on others, and you make damn sure that you're the results-oriented person, the person to follow, the person to emulate. And that can only happen when you're doing it for the right reasons of core principles, and not because you're trying to get somewhere or leverage something or trying to impress somebody. I've had plenty of conversations with people, and it's simple when you ask questions about why they're upset and why this person doesn't like that person. Most of the time it's a misunderstanding, or they thought this, that, or the other. There was expectations there that no one spoke about. They thought this and they thought that. And next thing you know, they're like, oh, I didn't know. Okay, we're friends now. Boom, done. So it, just like I said before, honesty and transparency, again, HIT. And that roots out the core integrity of every single, relationship that you can have. And let's face it, when you live by HIT, it makes you the most authentic person that people will ever meet, because you don't have to bend the way you walk. You don't have to say different things. You don't have to change who you are to fit into any situation, because when you're coming from a core principles of HIT, you're 100% who you are, and that's what it is. It doesn't matter what you say. They can't have anything on you because it's coming from a pure place. So even if they disagree with you, they're not going to attack you, because they see that you're so solid in your words, because you're coming from a place of honesty and transparency, that they just accept what you say. So when you have that presence, you can go in as a mediator. And I've been a mediator. I've been flown to Turkey to be a mediator through huge corporations that were just fighting with each other. That leadership that you take over, that impact that you have in these problem solving situations, comes from your internal combustion, that nuclear reactor that powers that presence to the outside, creating that humility for everyone to grab onto and sort of embrace.
Tell me about your relationship with the business partner. How did you strike up the relationship, and how has it endured?
Well, we, I do a trip every year. Well, I've been working with sacred plant medicine, ayahuasca, and San Pedro for over 16 years now. And about 5 years ago, I started taking a trip every year to Peru to work with the Quechua tribe, which is the last descendants of the Incans. There's 800 tribe members left. And we work with them directly in the valley, in the sacred valley at the Temple of the Moon. And we work with sacred plant medicine with leaders to take them through identity, purpose, and certainty. And Lane, my partner, came to one of the retreats. And we met. And at the time, I had a group of men called the Humble Man. And he had a group of men called the Authentic Alpha. So when we met, we ended up turning it into Humble Alpha.
Nice.
And, so I was sort of more the alpha. He was more the humble. And we sort of switched roles, pushed each other into each other's, discomfort zones, I guess you could say. And we've been now together for almost 3 years. And I've never had a more honest, open, direct, loving relationship with a business partner in my life. He completely embraced HIT as we matter of fact, he articulated HIT for me. I couldn't really articulate it the way he could. And he's 20 years my junior, and we talk every single day. He's in San Diego now, running one of the businesses that we sort of advise. and he lives in Colorado. He just moved there from Panama, where he was living with his Panamanian American wife. And we just have this amazing relationship, and we're doing a lot for the veteran space, the military veteran space. We just got picked up for a documentary series. I was in the first 4 episodes. He's now in the next episodes. We, rambled together a bunch of other veterans, and they're in San Diego right now filming that as well. We do a lot together, and it's because we all focus on the same thing, and that's the impact that we have, right? How can we have the most impact? And how can we touch as many people as possible that's going to create what we call radiant value? So, it's like a ripple effect going out in your life enterprise, touching everyone after the first person you touch as far as positivity goes, and help and love and care and that kind of things. And again, I want to reiterate, he's a Green Beret, Special Forces veteran. This guy, he's been to like 50 countries, climbed every freaking mountain, lived in the snow in Norway, was in Libya and all those Syria and all those places where you're not supposed to be. But he's one of the most gentle guys you'll ever meet, one of the most humble guys you'll ever meet. And it's just, we complement each other so well that when we get on stage or we go to meetings and stuff, we're just like, we just play off each other like we were joined at the hip. It's incredible.
That's amazing. So, so just to recap, you said you went to Peru for ayahuasca. Have you taken ayahuasca?
Oh yeah, so it's for 16 years now.
Right. And what do you find that you've gained from that insight?
100% clarity, 100% certainty, and whatever we do a ceremony every year, 2 or 3 days before we leave. It's called the Pachamama ceremony, and Pachamama is Mother Earth.
Okay.
And it's a ceremony where you give to Mother Earth, you sacrifice, like the Kashua tribe makes this offering to Mother Earth. It's like plants and sweets, and they make this beautiful, beautiful package, and then you, or each person, gives thanks to Mother Earth, and then gives her a piece of paper with all of your wishes and wants written on it, whatever it is.
Okay.
And then as you put this into this package, they wrap it up and they throw it into the fire. And as the smoke goes up, you clap twice and realize, okay, whatever I just wrote in that paper is going to happen, and the universe is going to take care of it. Done. You turn your back and walk away. And I do that every year, and the most amazing things happen. The things that I write in there absolutely come true. I mean, I literally, when I started this, when I stopped consulting 3 years ago, I was on the road 4 days a week for 20 years. I came home one day and I said, honey, I'm not going back. And she goes, what are you gonna do? I said, I have no idea. I was self-employed, so I was in like 9 countries a month. And I said, I have no idea. So I decided to go online and just start a business and see what happens. But before I did that, I said, I want to go to Peru, right? I want to sort of clear my head. So I went to Peru and I asked for 3 things. And I said, I want an online business. I want to make 100K in 3 months, and I want to use that to buy a house. And I poured it on the paper, put it in the fire, smoke went up, and I clapped twice and said it was done. And I got home and I just went about my life, and I totally forgot about it. And, it was like an all knowing that it was going to happen. And I'll never forget, we're sitting there. I started my online business, which consisted only of live videos on Facebook with a veteran group. And within 3 months, I made 100K from those people who hired me as a consultant. So I had my online business, I made 100K, and then my wife found a house, and I said, sign it. And she said, we don't have the money. I said, it's here already. I know it is. And so she signed it. And as soon as she signed it, 2 days later, I did a podcast with a pretty famous entrepreneur podcast, like the top 2 entrepreneur podcasts in America. And within 2 days, I had it was like 60 or 80K of contracts. And then right after that, I had another, big chunk of money come in from other contracts. So we had the money for the house, and that all happened within 3 to 4 months after coming back from Peru. And that was for me the real truth about, man, when you really let go, you internalize what it is that you want. You see it, you smell it, you taste it. And when you're working with ayahuasca in San Pedro, it's very simple to leave this life and go into that life and see everything real, touch it, feel it, smell it, taste it. And then you let go of it and say, it's already here. All I need to do is realize it. And that's what I do every year. And that's why I'm missing it so much. We had to cancel because of COVID.
Oh, okay.
But we have people already lined up there. They've already paid, and they're not even asking for a refund because they want to go, because the impact is that powerful.
And I've heard various people within the sort of podcast and arena who have talked about ayahuasca and talked about how brutal it can be at certain stages. You've painted a very positive and very spiritual connection. But can it be difficult as well?
Well, it is. It can be, but you got to realize there's a lot of people that go there. You know, I'd say 90% of all ayahuasca trips are what they call ayahuasca tourism.
Mm.
So they do it for the trip, for the kick, you know, for that kind of stuff, or they do it to just really overdose and sort of uber purge. We don't. We use control. You know, we have a like a shaman, I guess you could say, one of the Keshawas.
Yeah.
They're singing Icaras with us, keeping us awake. Because a lot of people take, you'll see it on video, they take ayahuasca and then they fall asleep. They lay down and then they throw up, and they lay down, they throw up, and they lay down, and they purge. I call it purging.
Mm.
Well, a proper ayahuasca, you're actually kept awake.
Okay.
Right. So they sit you up and play Icaras with you, they play the guitar and sing to you and stuff, and then, you know, cleanse your aura and that kind of stuff. And they do that because you're supposed to focus on what it is that you're attempting.
Mm.
Those who sort of take, you know, the massive overdoses and then just lay down in their sleeping bag and sort of cuddle up and wait till they vomit, they're the ones who are screaming and yelling and freaking out because they have no guidance. There's no intention there. Right. You must have an intention. You must have an intention. What do you want to solve? What are you seeking? Why do you want what you want? These are things we start working 2 weeks before we even get to Peru about all these questions with all of our clients that we go with.
Right.
If you're not clear about what it is that you want and you can't articulate that before we start working with ayahuasca, then you're not taking ayahuasca.
Mm.
So that's the difference. A lot of people go down there, and of course, there's also a 2-week abstinence plan. So no meat, no sugar, no spices, no alcohol, no chemicals on your body. You use like washed nuts and, you know, chemical-free soap, things like that. And so by the time you get down, and you reduce your calories massively, so by the time you get down there, your body is cleansed, so you have nothing to purge. Right. If you purge, it's usually energy. You feel like you're vomiting a basketball, but nothing comes out except for this energy.
Okay.
But you have people who show up and I just had pizza. And you're like, what? Dude, you're going to purge, you know? So, you know, you can always tell those who actually respect what they call the mother, because they call ayahuasca the mother. Those who respect the mother always have an amazing, amazing experience. Those who don't respect the mother or the process, they're going to purge. They're going to be in pain. They're going to be throwing up and vomiting. So if you're ever in an opportunity to go, if you ever have an opportunity to go to an ayahuasca retreat, ask all these questions. Right? What's the process? How long before I go do I have to do this, that, or the other? You know, even when you're down there, you eat very little. The first 3 days, you don't eat anything except for one little soup. I usually lose like 10 kilos when I'm there. But it's just the most amazing time every year. It's just, I can't even put it into words. It's just so powerful what it does for your clarity, for your certainty, for the loved ones in your life. The depth of my relationship with my wife and children is just unbelievable, because you allow yourself to go past all that ego, all of those inhibitions, all those thoughts of this, that, or the other, and self-loathing or whatever it is that you have. They just all fade away, and you come home a new person. And it's just every year, it's incredible. Then you know, we work. Typically, we only do one ayahuasca session. So we'll do San Pedro. San Pedro you take during the day. Ayahuasca you take it at nighttime. Ayahuasca is, like I said, the feminine, the divine feminine, and San Pedro is the divine masculine. And the San Pedro, man, if I didn't start working with San Pedro until about 5 years ago, so I was always hooked on the results of ayahuasca. But when you take San Pedro in the morning, ayahuasca at night, and then San Pedro the next morning again, there's something that happens to you that just makes you so assured of yourself. And I don't mean proud, because, you know, if you're proud, that sort of invites attack. You know, like, oh, look at this guy, you know. And then if you're attacked, what do you usually do? You defend yourself. So that's conflict. And you're self-assured when you're San Pedro. Work with San Pedro, work with ayahuasca. You're just so self-assured that it doesn't matter what people think, say, do. You're so solid in who you are, your identity, your purpose, your life. It's freeing, I guess you could say. It's liberating. And when you have that, that's where the Humble Alpha comes from. And when you have that, you go through life and people want to talk to you and be with you because you make them feel good. It makes you feel good to make them feel good. It's just, and I know people are listening right now, like, who's this freaking goofball, like, you know, going off the deep end.
No.
I promise you, I will challenge anyone to go get on a stage with me to walk into a room with me, to walk up to President Clinton, Bush, or Obama like I did, and just talk to them like a normal person, and they accept it. I challenge anyone to walk up. You know what I mean? It's not because I'm great, because I'm intelligent or smart. It's not that at all. It's because I'm so assured at who I am that I have no fear of anything or anyone around me. No fear of rejection, no fear of hate, want, animosity, or whatever. Anyone has a problem with me, that's their problem, not my problem. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I wash my hands of all that stuff. It doesn't mean I ignore it. It just means I wash my hands of all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect. I have my fallbacks. Today I had a 3-hour session of, unknown depression. And when I get depressed for no reason, I have PTSD. I was in Iraq. I fought in a war, that kind of stuff. Yeah. It comes back sometimes. And instead of making myself busy to forget about it, I just lay down and say, okay, bring it on, man. Bring it on. What do you got this time? Right? What do you got? Bring it on. Go through me. Pass through me. Okay, let go. And then I just let go. And it passes through me slowly but surely. About 3 hours later, depression's gone and I'm good to go.
So it sounds like there's a lot about clarity of thought for you. You're clear in who you are. You're clear in what you stand for. We talked about values and beliefs earlier. Yep. It sounds like the negativity of other people, you just wash your hands of that. Has ayahuasca, has that Humble Alpha, has HIT just given you a clarity of thought on how you want to live your life?
Completely and 100%. Not only that, but who I want to be and who I want to have in my life. Who I can tell in seconds flat if someone's going to be someone that I can relate to or not, or someone who I want to invest in or not. I can tell immediately. I still might invest in them, but typically, there's a lot of people out there looking to leverage to win for themselves, and that are bad vibes, and it's intimidating for some people. There's some people I try to help truly out of love and care because I see something more in them, but they can't let go of that picture they have of themselves. And I know this perfectly because I used to be like that. So, I had a picture of myself and I thought everybody saw me that way. And I made damn sure everyone did see me that way. So I was like self-perpetuating that bad picture of myself. And when I realized that's when I started, breaking away. And so when I see that in other people, I have this will to help them. But a lot of people aren't ready for that. They can't let go of that false identity they have of themselves, that negativity that they find inside of themselves. And there's a lot of depressed people in this world, man.
There's a lot of negativity and a lot of depression. I people all through my life, from business to friends to colleagues to family, there is a lot of people out there who hold on to negativity, whether it's their own negativity or often it's other people's negativity, which they've taken on themselves and decided that's going to define their life rather than anything else.
Yeah, and it's all thoughts. Again, it's all thoughts. It's not even real. That's the funny thing about it,
So tell me one thing. How does females fit into the Humble Alpha?
Same exact processes. As a matter of fact, we're the Humble Alpha female is in the conceptual phase right now.
Right.
So we want to have a Humble Alpha female and or woman, whatever you want to call it, and a Humble Alpha entrepreneur as well. So the Humble Alpha right now, Unleash Your Humble Alpha is the name of the book at humblealphabook.com. That addresses men specifically because we're men. And the whole book is derived from our life. So every chapter has a story that I tell or Lane tells, the lessons we took out of that, how to learn from those lessons, and then action plan, what to do to implement that in your life. And there's 5 different steps and 5 different lessons like that. Well, in order to write a Humble Alpha female, a Humble Alpha woman, we need a woman to do this. So we've interviewed quite a few women now who are at a place where they are Humble Alphas, and we're already working on that program. And that'll be more for the women, for the mother, raising the sons and things like that. I'm actually speaking on Sunday at an event, how to raise humble, powerful children, at an event for homeschooling parents. It's obviously a virtual event.
Yeah.
But it was surprising to me and Lane that the largest audience for our book is actually women.
Really?
And I asked them why, of course, and they said, well, we want men like this, and we want to raise our boys like this. And so that showed us a massive hole in society for this kind of a man, or this kind of a woman, or this kind of an entrepreneur. And it shows. I mean, everything I do or Lane does, I don't care who it is. I mean, I was a sergeant in the Army, and here I am coaching 2-star generals who spent 35 years in the military, leading 3,000, 5,000 troops in the battle, and I'm consulting them. Why? Because I have that presence of me, right? I know who I am, and they don't yet. They still have the identity of the military, and they're out, and they can't cope. And so the power of the Humble Alpha, the power of the book. Anyone who's read the book so far, and it's only a PDF version right now, you can pre-order on humblealphabook.com. We're doing a philanthropic book launch, meaning that every book we sell feeds 3 children for an organization called Generosity Feeds in America. They feed children that are hungry. We've fed over 1,500 children right now. And once we get the audiobook done, we're going to release all 3, hardback, paperback, and audiobook, and Kindle, all at the same time on Amazon. So they can go out and grab that PDF yet. But anyone who reads it is like, how is this real? Like, how can this, do you really live like this? We're like, yeah, dude, follow it. And like you said, just the mention of HIT and you embracing that HIT. And that's how it all started. When I went online, that's all I talked about was HIT. I didn't talk about the other stuff because I never got into that, that far into the conversation. But I mean, they call me the Hit Man. I have a podcast called The Hit Show, which I've put on ice for now. They had T-shirts made, the Hit Man, the Hit Squad. People follow me. Hitpreneur. It just went a little nuts. Why? Because HIT is so simple to understand and even simpler to deploy. Just be honest in everything that you do. Right?
It's a really interesting concept, the whole honesty. So you mentioned 2 examples, one business and one outside of work. So being honest with someone within a work environment, say like feedback, you should be honest and open about their performance. Equally, you actually gave the example of your wife and how does she look. But it's not about being, if something is not right, it's not about being mean and telling them how to, like brutal honesty. Because I grew up with a mother who was brutally honest with me, and that was her style. That was what she thought was the best thing for me to tell her. But actually, honesty, it comes with care and comes with,
of course,
being genuine, authentic to yourself and to that other person. Yeah.
And that's the key point there, is that people think, honesty is hitting, you nailed it. You nailed the head, the hammer on the head or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not about that. Again, you're there wholly and fully for the person in front of you to elevate them. You don't elevate someone by putting them down. The honesty, especially in organizational honesty, right? It's the standards that count. So honesty is a standard. It's not a byproduct, and it's not about being right either. Right. So you might want to be honest about something that you think you're right about. That has nothing to do with honesty. That's just you wanting to be right. Right. So people abuse that all the time. I'm just being honest. Actually, you're not. You're being opinionated. It's a big difference. Yeah. Right. You're being honest about being opinionated. So I appreciate that. But, if the utmost standards of honesty aren't adhered to, then dishonesty is going to be accepted. Right. And who wants to accept that? When someone doesn't meet the honesty standard, they should be brought to light, and appropriate action should be taken when it's in the organization, right? Or it's in the business. And the action doesn't mean firing or whatever. It means to sit down. Hey, what's going on, man? What's going on? I see this, that, and the other. How you feeling? You really just tell them, like, I see what's going on. I feel you. And that's the honesty we're talking about. I feel you're in pain. I see you're in pain. I see you have issues. Look, if you know the 6 essential human needs from Chloe Madonis, there's 6 needs that a human has, right? There's 6, I think we talked about in the last podcast. There's 6 needs that a human has. It's, it's certainty. One is variety or uncertainty. One is connection, love. One is significance, contribution, and that kind of stuff, right? So,
right, yeah.
So significance is a big one, right? So if you're at work and you see someone's unhappy and they're sort of acting out, they're sort of like being brash and loud. Well, that person obviously is seeking significance. Obviously, when you know the 6 essential human needs, you can solve basically any problem in your business by using HIT and the 6 essential human needs. Literally, it's like, how can it be so simple? Yeah, actually, it is that simple. When someone's drawn back, they're sort of like hanging back, they don't talk to anybody. They need connection. They need that relationship. They need that, right? That's why they're drawing away. They feel unwanted. They feel alone. So you got to give them some extra. So as a leader, as a provider of HIT, of, creating space and life enterprise, you give them what they need in a loving and caring way, because you want them to step into the greatest version of themselves so that your company is led down a path of greatness that you don't have to do on your own. That's why empowerment in the organization is so critical. And in our Humble Alpha Leader program, we have a whole portion of our training that talks about organizational management and how you make a whole team of humble alphas that are aligned with your mission and vision in your company, that even their purpose, their personal purpose, finds a place in the purpose of the company. Then you're bonded. Then you have an unstoppable company. Then things happen like with Steve Jobs, where he turned Apple around twice. Because he empowered people to make decisions, to make things that weren't even invented yet, but he believed in them and said, "You got this. You can make this happen. This is how I envision it. I know you can do it." So he created a space for them to be able to step into their own greatness and create things that were never existed before. That's where greatness comes from.
And that's the difference between, this is simplifying it. There's many different types of leadership, and I've explored that on my podcast, the different types, but two very clear ones which oppose each other, and I know which side you're more promoting. But there's a difference between a boss who tells you what you have to do and a leader that empowers you to be better, to deliver, to empower them to deliver results.
Perfect example is me being in the military. I got out. I was a leader, and a leader with rank. It was like, do this or you're in trouble. That's a boss. That's not a leader. Even though a lot of people say I'm a natural born leader because I was in the military, actually, you're an authoritarian. That's what you are. You're not really a leader. You're authoritarian. and a leader is chosen by the people, by the way. So people choose to follow or not.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader and people aren't following you, well, you have a position of authority, but you're not a leader. Leaders are chosen, man. Leaders are made from the people that they lead. That's where great leaders come from.
Absolutely. So just a slightly segue. Do you meditate? Is it something that you've found use in your life?
I do. I do different kinds of meditation. One of the types of meditation I do is sounds kind of strange, but I train every single day, right? So I train something every single day in the gym. I like getting out and seeing other people. And COVID really hurt me. Thank God we only shut down for 1.5 months here when it comes to the gyms, but here in Hungary. And so I'll put in an audiobook, or I'll put in brain.fm, which is a focus isochronic tones internet radio station a buddy of mine owns. They got like 200,000 subscribers. And it gets you to a focused area really quick. But I train while I'm doing this. So I'm sort of like in a conscious, subconscious meditation while I'm training. And it's amazing because I feel and see my muscles moving as they move, and sort of concentrate on that. And I really get into myself, like into my body, and feel the muscles, feel the stretching, feel that. It's just something I do to leave the outside world. And then I don't meditate all the time, but I do sort of do a rundown of the day for gratefulness every night when I lay down in bed. I thank the universe and God and whoever else is out there for everything that I have and I'm grateful for. And I'm very specific about what I'm grateful for. It isn't just like, I'm grateful for my family and I'm grateful that I'm alive. And it's not that. It's like, I'm grateful for the interaction I had with my daughter today, where she looked up to me and said, "Daddy, I love you." It's these kind of things that I really, I live a very conscious life. And I believe that when you live a conscious life, the feedback, the radiant value that you give to the world around you, to your life enterprise, is beyond reproach. That everyone who meets you is like, wow. And you don't do it for that reason. That's the great thing about it. That's the byproduct, again, of living a life of consciousness, conscious life.
The reason why I asked about meditation is because so I liked going to the gym while we weren't in lockdown, and so we've been in lockdown here for, I think we're into the 3rd month, if not coming up to the 4th month.
Yeah.
And so the gyms have been closed for all that time, and I really felt that I needed to do something, because I would get that relaxation and that relief from exercising, and obviously we've not been able to do that, and I'm not great with running. I've done running in the past, but the meditation, so I started meditating every morning, and I the whole aim was to be able to clear my mind ready for the day. And I
Right.
was very specific. I wanted to do it in the morning because I wanted to get that clarity of thought, which you've talked about,
Right.
and sort of release the negativity and focus on what I needed to achieve that day. And I must admit, it's actually helped me in a way that I wasn't really expecting. So it's been a mixture of different types of meditation to release negativity, and to doing sort of what I need to believe in a day, what type of person I want to be, and I think it's given me. I haven't come to a complete conclusion on this because I've only been doing it for a few months, but I think what it does give to me is a relaxation in the mind.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite freeing. It's actually quite, it releases something in your brain
Sure
that
does.
means that you can approach your start of the day in the positive and sort of affirmative way.
Oh yeah, completely. And well, first of all, when you're living consciously, you sort of learn how to neutralize the tendency of making the sort of the pendulum swing of life, negative, positive, negative, positive, that you can actually neutralize that negative, positive, because it's all thoughts from the outside anyway. So you just focus on the inside, empower yourself. And when you meditate like that, you completely let go. People think meditate is one certain thing. I can teach someone to meditate in a minute and they'll actually feel it. But some people, you got to be a master, and it's not about that. It's about calming the mind, living consciously, listening to yourself. What are you thinking and why are you thinking it? And then if you can't figure it out, just let it go and it'll come to you. It's, in the end, one of my favorite books is actually called Letting Go. And I listened to this thing, I don't know how many times I listened to it, hundreds of times probably. It's one of my favorite books of all time, called Letting Go, from David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD. And it's all about the pathway of surrender so that we can live a life that we're supposed to live. And one of the tips that I have, this is fantastic. I learned it from a guy named Jesse Elder. And so when I get up in the morning, well, first of all, when I go to bed at night, I'm grateful for everything. And then I run through the day tomorrow. Like I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to have a fantastic day. My kids and I, we're going to hang out on the sofa for a little bit and love each other. I'm going to take them to school, go to the gym. So I just prepare my day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be in a great mood and sunshine. I always say, be the sunshine the world needs. That's what I always tell my kids. Be the sunshine. I get up, put them to school. They get up, I go to school. I always say, be the sunshine the world needs. So I always say that to myself too. So before I get up in the morning, as soon as I wake up, before I open my eyes, the first thing I do is force a smile. And if you've ever done this, you're going to realize how difficult it is when you're not even awake yet. You're just groggy and you're forcing yourself to smile. It does something to you. It really, really does something to you. And then I force a smile and embrace it and embody that smile. And then I say what I said the night before: today's gonna be a fantastic day. I want to be in an amazing mood. My kids and I are going to bond. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And you open your eyes and your day is created. It's incredible, man. It's incredible. You wake up so empowered, so on fire, so loving, giving, caring. It's incredible. And you walk down and you just give your kids a huge hug, and your wife, and whoa, baby. It's like you just came back from a trip. But it's because you're pre-framing that before you go to bed, and before you open your eyes, you're pre-framing it again.
Well, it's using your subconscious, isn't it? It's using your subconscious.
You're doing it consciously the night before, which puts it into your subconscious, and you call it back out of your subconscious in the morning and go conscious again. So it's a complete 360, right? And then there you are, and you're just this powerful being in the morning, and it's incredible. It changes lives. It literally does.
So for the meditation, which something I've noticed is so I always say that depression is based on the past and anxiety is based on the future. You're worrying about the future. And just to sit in this middle point of view, which I've really struggled with, I've often wanting to push forward. Everything's got to be about the next target, the next thing.
Right.
But actually, if you live in the present, you see things, and this is going to sound a bit weird, but it's like when I go downstairs and I have my breakfast, I've got a conservatory, which is an open plan, and you can see out into the garden. The number of times I've walked down since I've meditated and walked out and seen and heard a bird, which I would never, ever have paid any attention to.
Love it.
My daughter comes down and she says, "Oh, can I have breakfast?" I say yes, and she gives me a huge grin because I'm helping her. And it's just being able to see those small things that actually empowers you to keep on doing it and build a momentum. Because I talk a lot about momentum, but
Right.
build up a momentum of seeing that smile that is there, the bird that's there, the dog.
Well, you nailed it. You won't see it if you're looking ahead.
Yeah.
You can look right past it, right? So you nailed it. And that's the whole thing about living consciously. And that's what meditation is all about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just clearing that out, clearing all that out so you can be aware in the moment, the now, like Eckhart Tolle wrote, living in the now. And, and I always say, tomorrow is always a day away, and yesterday is always gone. So you only have now. I mean, if you say, what time is it in 10 years today, it'll be now. It's always now. It doesn't matter where you are. And even if, as I'm talking right now, it's already passed. So you have to live in the now. Right?
Yes.
You have to live in the now. It's difficult sometimes when you're trying to plan things, but the quickest way to learn is in the painful times. So for instance, if you're, hurting for money, or you need to make money before the end of the month, you can't pay your bills or whatever, you worrying about it isn't going to help you one bit. You make a plan, you reverse engineer it. So you set a goal, reverse engineer, make a plan, and then let it completely go and say it's going to work, and just go about your day and enjoy your life as much as you can. And then that'll take care of itself, because the intention itself is what moves it. It's not the action. You can do action all you want every single day, but if your intention isn't to win, if you're thinking, for instance, I'm never going to make enough money, but I'm going to go to work anyway and I'm going to do this. Well, you're not going to make enough money, because that intention is what's the powerful part, not the action steps. So,
but it's interesting though, because you still need to action. It's like one of the things I've talked about is like, I've seen people that have, similar to me in the early days, I got obsessed by thought leaders, influencers, and it's great. You can have this breadth of understanding, but if you don't ever action and deliver, you're never going to bring that success, bring that.
Of course
fruition.
not. Of course
and
not.
I say to people at the moment,
what I'm saying is action without intention is worthless.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. If you're just doing something because you think it's going to get you somewhere without an intention, then it's going to be really difficult to get to where you're going, because you don't know where you're going. How are you going to know when you get there? So if you want to push hard and you want to take action, then know exactly where you're going and why you're doing what you're doing, and put an intention there to have, the most divine experience and have the highest impact and radiant value. I mean, there's so much of an intention that we can put into everything that we do that most people don't. They say, I want to do this because I need to make money. Okay, that's really not an intention. That's just an outcome that you're looking for. What's your intention? What kind of impact do you want to have in the world? These are the kind of things I'm talking about. So
what sort of thought leaders, influencers has impacted you growing as a person?
Oh, man, there's so many. One of the ones that I really like too is Michael Neal. I don't know if you know who Michael Neal is. Michael Neal wrote a book called The Inside Out Revolution. The Inside Out Revolution is like a mini letting go, and it sort of tells stories about how people realized that they were just driving themselves crazy with their thoughts, right? And this guy is just, the audiobooks, I listen to. I listen to it often. It's such a great book. I'll just pick a chapter and then go for it. I could say, stoicism and all that kind of stuff, but it's done. Like Joseph Murphy is someone I listened to very much in the past. Of course, Wallace Wattles, the old standby. Alan Weiss from $1 Million Consulting. He's got some great tips. He's sort of on the hardcore side, not spiritual at all, but he's got some great tips for consultants. I guess if I had to pick some, it would be, my favorite book is A Happy Pocket Full of Money, which doesn't exist anywhere anymore online except for in YouTube. Okay. Unfortunately, audiobooks were all shut down. I'm not sure if they lost licenses or I don't know what happened, but if anyone ever wants to look up A Happy Pocket Full of Money on YouTube, the whole 8-hour audiobook is on YouTube.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right.
Yeah. And it's an incredible book. It will change the way you look at money, the way you look at how you make money, the way you look at the results of your life. And people read all the time. Sometimes they turn into like reading junkies and they end up not really even learning. They're just reading. And like, I've read 52 books like a CEO does every year. Well, then why aren't you a CEO? I mean, it's like, it's like, it's not about winning the race, man. It's about just taking part and learning from it, so. Yeah, it's I'm not a big scholar, but I like reading things that are impactful.
Absolutely. And something about, you've talked a little bit earlier about lessons learned, and some of the, I've just refreshed my coaching training because I'm looking to get a little bit more involved in that from a business coaching point of view. And one of the things which I've been thinking about is actually lessons learned. And what was different about this training was they made you think about the things that were positive, that were things that helped you, and the lessons learned you can take from the positives, as well as looking at the negatives and lessons learned from negatives. And actually, if you start thinking about them both, you can come to a core learning that happens for positive or negative. And I think that's quite an interesting concept, because we all think, or my perception of lessons learned previously was, well, let's talk about what didn't go well and learn from those
Right.
lessons. But equally, you learn from how things went well just as much as how things went badly.
Absolutely. But we do, when it goes well, we just continue on, don't we?
And
when it doesn't go well, we stop and analyze and bitch and complain and wonder and worry and talk about it. And, they say, something that goes bad, someone will repeat it to other people 8 times, and something goes good, they'll only repeat it 2 times.
Yeah.
It's true. It's human nature. And of course, news and media, society, they drill us down to be like that. When we focus on the negative all the time on everything we do, it's horrible.
Totally agree. So how do you think the Humble Alpha has changed your decision making? So making decisions can often cause people a struggle, because they get this either analysis paralysis or they procrastinate. And how would you give people advice using Humble Alpha on decision making?
Well, I always base it on HIT, honesty, integrity, and transparency, no expectations. So, I look at the radiant value that I'm going to have when I make a decision. Who's it actually good for? Is it good for just me, or is it good for everybody around me? And sometimes I have to adjust, the decisions that I make to fit everyone around me, because if I can compromise 2 degrees or, with getting 4 results instead of 5, but through that, I'm touching 150 people and all of their lives. And then of course I want to make that the key. Right. So it's about not being selfish and not only thinking about yourself, looking at the bigger picture. I mean, honestly, sometimes, Lane will come to me with an idea and I'm thinking to myself, you freaking nuts. Right. I'm thinking to myself, what? We just started this. Why would you think that or the other? Whatever, just as an example. But I won't think like that. I'll think like that for a millisecond, because that's what people do. And then I'm like, okay, wait a second. What's he saying? Why is he saying it? Where's it coming from? What's his true intention? What's my intention? Why would I want to say what I want to say? And I go through this whole process. And then I let go of it. And within 5 minutes, it's a non-issue, literally. So I'm like, yeah, okay, cool, man. If that's what you want to do and you feel empowered to do that, let's roll with it. Done. And so I'll go through that whole process within myself before it, people say use your intuition and, make the right decision, which I fully, completely follow. Yeah. But people often confuse emotion with intuition. Like, when someone said something to you, what, are you crazy? Oh, it was my intuition that told me that. No, it wasn't. That was your, uncontrolled emotions. So I don't want to say controlled, but unabated emotions. Decision-making, Humble Alpha is all about being aware of the impact you're going to have in the world around you and being aware of what it's going to do to you. Is it honest? Is it integral? Are you being true to yourself, to your identity, who you are? Is it following your purpose? Why would you even make that decision? If it doesn't follow your purpose, if it doesn't add to your purpose, it doesn't add to your presence, to your integration in life enterprise, what are you making this decision for? Why are you in this position? Should you even be in that position? So you're self-critical, and that's what keeps you humble, my friend. It keeps you really, really humble when you keep asking yourself these things. Never take it for granted that you deserve the position you have or the title you have or whatever it is, because once you start doing that, you start basing your power on that position or that title, and the next thing you know, you've completely lost who you are, and then you have that CEO again saying, "Do you know who I am?" That kind of thing.
So do you think Humble Alpha and HIT at the same time go against society norms? Because we're defined by the society we live in, which can be very cultural. Like there's lots of contributing factors from the UK to Hungary to the US, etc. But how do you think it fits within society norms?
Well, I got to tell you this: until you cross over, and this might sound sort of strange for someone to hear for the first time, but until you cross over past giving a damn about titles and positions and things like that, you won't see it, because you think, look, man, I run a company. I have to have a title. People have to know who I am. Otherwise, how am I going to get this, that, and the other? But then once you cross over and you're in this other world where titles and positions don't matter, it's about impact and impact and radiant value. You look back and you're like, man, how could I think so small, and how could I think so limited? And how could I think so like a wall around me? How could I think like that? You really can't see it when you're in it, because that is the norm. But once you break out of that norm, and like I said, again, I walked into every office of every CEO and sat down with them and chilled out and had a great conversation, because I wasn't one of them. You understand? So the power, if you can be like that all you want, and that's fine, and you will get along great. You'll be, if you get up to be a CEO and you do it, that'll be great for you. My question is, do you want to be great, or you want to be the highest version, the best version of yourself? Because it's not about what other people think, man. If I love myself and I got a foot growing out of my forehead and I'm proud of that, then that's who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't give a damn. You see what I'm saying? So it's not about what other people think, or how other people think I should be, or what society thinks the norm is. I, as a matter of fact, the more normal something is, the less I actually want to engage in it. I want to break through as much as possible, see the differences in the world, consciously be present for my children every second that they're here. Whenever I catch myself that I'm not, I'll stop and look at them and touch them and kiss them and hug them and tell them how much I love them. That doesn't mean I don't discipline them. That doesn't mean we don't have a normal life. I'm not just sitting around, like a beanbag and going guru all day long. That's not what I'm talking about. So once you pass through that societal norm, you sort of look back and realize how much time I wasted and how much money I spent and how many thoughts I had about trying to be, having to be, wanting to be. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that's over.
So what does legacy mean to you? Is it important for you?
Legacy for me, I'm thinking of the German word for some reason. For me, legacy has everything to do with my children. So the only wish that I have, or the only intention I have, is that my children look back and say, man, my dad taught me a bunch about how to be a good person, about how to give back, and about how to care. That's a legacy I care about. I don't care if I have a statue in mine or whatever they do. I don't know, whatever. If the Humble Alpha book ends up being something great, that would be fantastic. But for me, it's all about my children. I want to raise giants in themselves. Like, the outside world doesn't matter. They have to see themselves as a complete human being, and a person to be loved, and a powerful, powerful person that can create their own reality. That's legacy for me.
So not what children, but do you have boys or do you have girls?
We have one of each. So we have a boy and a girl.
And
5 and 6 years old. 5 and 6.
Oh, lovely. Okay, mine are 4 and 6. So
oh, great.
Yeah. So do you tweak your how you? So I've got 2 girls, and I was brought up with 2 boys, with me and my brother. So it's been a challenge having 2 girls initially, because all of the way I grew up and sort of my upbringing was with men and with boys and stuff in my life, and it was a bit of a switch for me to have 2 girls, and their needs are completely different, even from a very young age, to what boys need. So do you tweak the way that you interact with your son as well as your daughter?
Oh, of course. Everyone has their own needs. My daughter is she has to be listened to. Like, you have to listen to my daughter. Like, if you cut her off, if you already know what she's going to say, it doesn't matter. She wants to say it. So you have to be very calm. You have to listen to her and acknowledge that you understand what she said before she moves on.
Right.
And my son's like, feed me. It's just, he's just, he's a guy. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's completely different. But I try to empower them as much as possible. get them to make decisions. When they say, I can't do it, I'm like, what does that mean to you when you say you can't do it? Well, I can't do it. Why? I don't know why. Well, exactly. You don't know why. So give it a shot, and it's just these kind of things that I go through. It takes longer. My wife gets a little mad sometimes because I don't just say, shut up and do it. I try to get them to do it themselves, or, try to figure out the solutions themselves. And it's amazing. We're driving down the street and the windows are down, and everybody we pass by like, hello, good day. I just love it so much how they're just like beaming this light, sunshine out into the world. It's so incredible.
Right, I think that's a good place to end legacy in children. I totally agree with your view on your children being your legacy and how you want to impact them. I could talk to you for another hour, Steven. So, but I'm sure you have the rest of the evening that you want to have to yourself. So, thank you, Steven. Thank you so much. I don't have the 5 questions that I ask every guest because we've already asked them for you. But
yes.
Just tell me, where can people find you? What would you like to promote? Go for it.
Yes. Well, you can find us on Facebook. I guess it would be Humble Alpha. You can go to humblealphabook.com to grab the book and donate to the philanthropic generosity feeds. And I think anyone's interested in the book, The Humble Alpha, and you're male, and you're at a place in life where you're feeling pretty powerful, you're doing okay, making okay money, you're where you should be. Society says everything's cool and you're in a perfect place, but you don't feel like you're in a perfect place. And you don't feel empowered inside. You don't feel that presence. You don't own the room when you walk into the room. That's what the Humble Alpha Leader Program is all about. It's a year-long program. We teach for about 3.5 months, 4 months. And then the rest of the year is all about integration. How do we integrate it in your life? It's all live. It's all video conferencing. There's no pre-recorded videos, no homework you got to do, none of that. It's all live coaching, consulting, and we get into the spiritual as well. So you could let go, like we talked about letting go. Lane is a specialist in force multiplication and high performance thinking, high performance mindset, and then he also breaks off into the 3D and the 5D, how you look at life differently. So you have 3D, which is everything you see, touch and feel, and 5D is the spiritual, the other 2 are the spiritual parts, and how you can use that to gain presence across all areas of life, of body, mind, relationships, and business, and gain your identity back of who you really are. And you can let go of all those things that society expects you and wants you to be, and find your true purpose, which creates the most amazing magic, which we call certainty. Because when you're certain of everything that you do, the how you do it doesn't even matter, because you can detach completely from it because you're heading in that direction either way, and you're basing it on HIT, and you're going about it honestly. So any man out there that wants to have that kind of a life, and you want to learn from 2 military veterans who've been living this life for a long time, give us a holler. Look me up on Facebook, Steven Eugene Kuhn. You can write me. My email, steveneugenekuhn@gmail.com. And we'll set you up with an application form to see if you qualify for the Humble Alpha. Now, we also include business in that program, revenue generation, team training your teams. But if you don't have a team, or you don't, not worried about your book or whatever, we can work something out where we just go through the personal development stages if you wish. But it's very, very powerful. And everyone we talk to and touch and work with is just, we could make a list of people that are changing the world, put it that way.
Excellent. And when's the next one? When does the next one start?
It's rolling. So we do either 1-on-1 or 4-on-1. So, well, actually it's Lane and myself and 4 people, or Lane and myself and 1 person. So it depends on if you want to be in a group of 4 or a group of 1. So we can roll, we can do it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Steven. I'll now have to think of something to talk to you. I'm initially thinking about consultancy versus coaching as part 3, but it would be great to have you back at some stage in the future.
Well, I'm always here for you, brother. You know that.
So interesting to speak to you. We've gone very spiritual today, which is fantastic. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.